Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolish Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. All of them. All of them, guys. All of them. They're going by the wayside. Peace and respect, Mac. And welcome. All right. And the floor is yours, Mac.
So we were chatting before the show after we ironed out some technical issues and talking about how hot it gets where Richard is. And even though it's always pretty warm there, just in general, I guess compared to like universal standard room temperature, it's always pretty warm there. There's a season where the ice cream shop is slow, which is funny to me because here, in Michigan, when temperatures are in the low 60s, people are flocking to the ice cream places. They're like, yeah, it's time for ice cream. Let's do ice cream, finally. And it's like a warm day, so, shorts go on and everything. But there's extremes to this, and there's, you can condition your body. The human is capable of conditioning its body to very extreme temperatures, and considering temperature changes to be, relatively cold. You were talking about your time in the Middle East and how how crazy hot it gets there, and it was ungodly hot when you got there in the springtime, and then it got even hotter, and nobody even wanted to know like how hot it even was. That's crazy. And then you asked for a topic, and I said, well, there was this guy that I was listening to a podcast about today, and I sort of wondered your take on him, and I wonder how many people in the chat or that pay attention to this channel know about this guy Wim Hof, who reportedly has autonomous control over, or he has control over otherwise autonomous functions of the human body, like his pulse rate, his body temperature, his breathing rate, things like that. He can moderate to his will, he claims, and he demonstrates this with scientific verification. He's got a website where he's like, here's the studies that they did on me, and like I could produce these results for these studies, and I take an ice bath every morning, and I can melt the ice in the bath before I get back out of it, and he's just this like crazy Dutch guy, and he advocates this specific breathing technique that he believes is very useful for achieving this kind of control over your body. And I think I mean I don't even know where to go with this in terms of like the worldview that we discuss here, but it seems to me like there's human potential that is hardly even understood, that's demonstrated here. Unless this guy's a fraud, which I guess we have to allow, some kind of room
for. We do have to, in all reason and logic say, okay, this could be all false. It could be, okay? But you're going to have to get into a pretty good-sized conspiracy. Like, he's paying a lot of people, and with what money? And is he a wealthy person to start with to pull off this fraud? And why? For more money?
Right.
Maybe. Okay, sure, people do stuff like that. But I think that there's enough of these kinds of observations that either it's a lot of liars lying for money, or there could be something to it. Now, and you mentioned this briefly. In April, we landed, and that's indicative of the season. So it was mid-late spring in Saudi Arabia when we landed, and the airplane maintained the same cabin temperature the entire flight. Okay, which was an 18-hour flight. But anyway,
Wow.
if you can even imagine being stuck on a plane for 18 hours. But when we landed, the plane was 68, and the captain comes on, and goes, "Ah, we have now arrived at I forget the name of the resort in Saudi Arabia that wasn't quite built yet that we landed at. And the ambient temperature is 136 degrees." And I went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Did that guy just say 136?" And the guy beside me is like, "Uh huh." Like, holy crap! We weren't expecting that. And literally drank 5 gallons the first afternoon and evening I was there, and peed twice, and just watched my brown shirt turn white from salt. But the shirt was never wet. I mean, at no point did it look wet, feel sticky on my body at all, because it's just so dry there. It's really incredible. But, at a couple weeks, I got used to it, So you would think that it would take maybe months or years to get an American whose, maximum experienced temperature was 105 degrees, right. 106 degrees, to get them to adjust to 136. You'd think that would take some time. It really doesn't. It's pretty damn shocking,
How
actually.
long would you say? Days?
It was literally less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, so like day 1, drank 5 gallons. Day 2, like 3 gallons. Day 3, 2.5 gallons.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it was that quick. Just boom, 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 right on down, back down to 2 quarts a day like normal.
Wow. And
just not sweating. Unless I did something,
Sure.
some exertion. Right. So yeah, like 2 weeks. So could this guy be telling the truth? My experience says yes, he could be telling the truth. And I know I can rattle on about everything, and I've just experienced everything, and I always have an opinion. I know it's horrible. Okay, I started messing around with my own body when I was 13 years old because of my next eldest brother, who really is a genius. Like, no kidding, okay? Like, certified. And, invited to Mensa genius, okay?
Gotcha.
He was a bookworm, and he was extremely self-absorbed, and he didn't like to be annoyed or interrupted when he was reading. And it was one of those days. He was reading, and I walked into the room where he was, and I had a case of the hiccups.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's true. And because our family's sense of humor is hyper-literal for fun.
Sure.
Okay. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hiccuping?" Because I was. And he paused for a second. He said, "Yes, you're hiccuping." He said, "What's a hiccup?" Well, I was 13 years old, but Mom was a medical professional. I said, "Well, it's a convulsion of the diaphragm, causing the epiglottis to close the throat suddenly, making that sound." Which is true. That's what a hiccup is. Now, why hiccups is another question. He said yes, and he said, and where is that seizure of the diaphragm coming from? I said, "From my brain." He says, "Yes." He said, and who's in charge of your brain? And I said, "Me." He goes, "Yes, and why are you hiccuping?" And I went, "Never thought about it. Never entertained the idea." So I spent the rest of that day analyzing what he had said and thinking about my body the way that I understood it at 13 years old, which may not be completely accurate, right? And I thought, okay, so it's a convulsion of the diaphragm. That's a muscle. I know about where it's located. I can feel it convulsing, right? So I know where that is in my body. It's not like it's a mystery, It's like a muscle twitch. You can feel the muscle twitch even if you're not consciously making it twitch, right? So I thought, well, how would you defeat something like a convulsion or a muscle twitch or something like that? And I thought, oh, I know what I should do. I should try to purposefully relax that muscle. So I found it. not here, but here. I found the muscle here. And I just relaxed it. And I have not had a case of the hiccups since I was 13. So it'll get 1, maybe 2 in. If I was drinking a lot, it could get in like 3. But then I just relax it out and it'd go away. So I haven't had, and you can ask anyone in my private life, and a couple of those, or at least one of those, Beck.
I mean,
you can ask Beck
something like that up.
But I can verify it through other people that I have not given money to. Okay. So yeah. So I don't get the hiccups. I get a hiccup.
Well,
right.
That is a heck of a claim. I mean, and that's I've actually never heard of anybody conquering hiccups. I've heard a lot of
I think you
folk
can
cures to it, but I've never.
I think that all the folk cures are distractions so that you'll relax your muscle.
Okay.
That's what I think they are. That's why they can be so greatly varied, and why some work. A person could hear of several of them, try several of them, only one works.
Right.
Where a different only one works for someone else.
It's true.
It's because of their confidence level in it. Like, how much does it make sense to them personally that would work? And that causes them to relax their way out of it because they have faith in it, is what I think is going on. But I just poke fun at people that do that, and I go, okay, well, you can waste your time if you want, or you could just find the muscle in your head and relax it.
Right.
You could just do that. And I've said that to people, and then they investigate it in themselves and successfully stop their hiccups. So I know it's up here. It's not in the diaphragm itself. Okay,
I mean,
so
here's
another claim.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
I was just going to clarify and maybe resist a little bit and say, there are instances of, things that originate in our brain as electrical impulses that are still not like part of our control system, part of our choice, like tree.
I'm not sure about that statement.
Okay.
I think the truth of it is it's more like there's an autopilot. But you can grab the controls. I think it's something closer to that, actually. Okay. Because after the hiccup thing, I went, wow, I wonder what else I can do.
Yeah.
When I was 13 and I had faith. So I was fearless and not thinking very wisely and experimenting a lot. Okay?
Yeah.
So I found out that I can, without coming up for air, swim under water the length of 1 1/2 Olympic pools. Yeah, that's a lot of distance and exercise while holding your breath. I found that I can, although it scares the crap out of me, even to this day, I can actually stop my heart, and which is a lot of fun when you're having your pulse taken.
Oh my goodness.
because like they got a hold of your wrist, right? And they'll go, then they're sitting there looking at their watch, and then you stop it, and then they go like this, trying to find it, like they moved their fingers or something accidentally. It's huge fun to mess with people, but they say you can't do that. Except I've done it to every nurse who's ever taken my pulse.
Wow.
And all of them did the same thing. None of them like looked at me or commented or anything. They just repositioned their fingers. And by the time they reposition their fingers, it freaks me out too much because I'm afraid I could kill myself if I kept going. Well, so I get scared and I let go of it and it goes back to beating. And then they're like, oh, okay, I found it. And they don't even say anything. I've never had one comment. But it's not like they lost it, actually. It's not like, these are professional people that have done that sort of thing like 1,000 times. They didn't put their finger in the wrong spot and then accidentally move both fingers. That didn't happen. But it's funny because that's what they'll assume. They'll assume they must have moved their fingers off of it, So that's fun.
Well, okay, so breath and heartbeat are the two big ones, right?
They say.
And theoretically, you've achieved the kind of control that could, actually like end your life.
That's a little disturbing.
Necessary for life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think there's an autopilot system that you can override.
What about
and you're
Hair
kind of born
production.
on autopilot. What's that?
Like hair and fingernail production. Can you?
Never
Can
tried.
you-
Never thought of it.
Just trying to think of all of the things because there really aren't that many when you think of it. Like, I mean, there's blinking,
Gastrointestinal
easy.
function, all the digestive tract, all of your hormone production, enzyme production. Of course, you mentioned breathing, heartbeat,
So do
blood
you
pressure,
exert
systolic.
control over all that? Are you?
Well, those are all automatic systems, right?
Yeah, they are
We think of them as automatic systems.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what if?
yeah.
I mean, I'm what ifing, but what if? Because apparently, I mean, I can only hold my breath for so long before little black dots appear before my eyes because my eyes are running out of cooling. And my eyes are starting to overheat and I'm damaging my actual rods and cones. So I get black dots because of lack of blood, proper circulation and nutrition to the eyeballs and stuff. And the eyeballs use a lot.
Oh,
Like it's
wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Sure.
If you didn't replace the rods and cones in your backs of your eyes as fast as you do, you would actually go blind in 20 minutes.
Oh my! Wow.
That's it. That's all you got, 20 minutes. Which is funny, right? Yeah, we're
I had no
replacing them
idea.
like yeah, your cells in your eyes that keep your eye working use huge amounts of blood. And the blood also acts as a light-proof barrier. It's opaque. And it stops the photon.
Oh.
So it's really interesting the way that the eyeball's set. And, you know, Richard Dawkins say your eye's set up backwards. He's full of... Well, he's not accurate. He's not accurate. In fact, it couldn't work some other way. And you have exactly the same eye as an eagle, by the way. It's just you don't have enough muscles to warp your eye as far as an eagle can.
Huh.
You have the same muscles in the same places. They're just not as strong. But anyway, you have exactly eagle eyes. Anyway, okay, so...
What about immune system and like cell regeneration?
I'll tell you a little story about myself. Because I've been experimenting with all these things for all these years and having success, that will build your confidence and or confide with faith, your faithfulness.
Okay.
It'll build that when something
Sure.
works, and it keeps working. Okay. I have not had an illness, except one, since 2012. I have not had a runny nose, a cold, a whatever. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that I don't get attacked by viruses. I do. And I know that because my body will start acting that way. Right? Like I will feel my breath from my nostrils through my mustache, which normally I can't. But if I feel that heat on my lip through my mustache, I know I'm starting to get a fever. I will immediately, I don't much care what's going on because it's only going to take me 20 minutes anyway. I will immediately go and meditate and get into a prayer state and concentrate on killing that virus, which is a very abstract idea. It's very abstract because you don't get to see the virus. You can't feel the viruses moving in you or something.
Right.
You can't nail down a location for them. So it's extremely abstract. Okay? But I have not had a cold except once, which was 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
And it's only because I'm very annoyed by how much I don't sleep easily. And I know that when I am sick, I sleep better. So I chose to not meditate or pray on it and try to get rid of it and let it run its course. And I got 3 good nights sleep out of that. 3 in a row. So I was happy to have a cold. Thank you so much.
I heard somebody say today that evil plus time equals good. Yeah.
Evil plus time. Well, in, in, a, in a world of subjective morality, sure. It could. Depends on what the topic is. What evil thing? Who do we got? I hadn't even turned on the side chat for obs. Oh, look. Peace and respect, Commander 401, Sammy,
Hey,
and Krishna,
Krishna.
and that's all the way to the beginning of it. Welcome, guys. Thanks for dropping by. At least you dropped by. Thank you. So,
420 skeptical.
yeah, that's fine. I like skeptics.
Yeah, I know you do. I always let you
I
down
like
on
skeptics.
that front.
Really. Yeah.
He
What's
accused
that?
me of being eager to believe earlier, and I think that's true about me. I think that's frustrating to you, and that I'm so eager to believe that I'm trying to feel it out.
I want to encourage true skepticism. Okay, now that word is a dirty word right now in our culture in the debate community. Here's why.
Skepticism?
Skeptic.
Okay.
It's a dirty word right now, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people think they are skeptical and are only cynical. Okay? So you have a high percentage of cynics calling themselves skeptics, which is not the same thing.
Right.
Okay?
Sure.
A cynic, will doubt whether or not you're telling the truth when you tell them they have broccoli in their teeth.
Right.
A skeptic will look in the mirror.
Right.
That's pretty much the difference right there.
Gotcha.
If you deny something without grounding, a way to justify your lack of trust in some observation of your own or someone else's,
Right.
and you don't seek to prove it or disprove it, just dismiss it, you are not a skeptic.
Right.
You're not. So if that's what you're doing, anyone who sees this ever, you're not a skeptic. You're a cynic. Because you don't investigate it to see whether or not it's true. So you're not honest.
Right.
Okay? You're just dishonest the other way. Some people believe too much. You don't believe enough. There's a middle ground somewhere.
And just because you can't adequately investigate, a claimed phenomenon to your satisfaction, that doesn't disprove it either. And we still have to contend with the various claims along these lines. Like we have to contend with this Wim Hof fellow, and there's, like you mentioned originally, he's not an isolated case. Neither are you, really. I mean, there's people that claim crazier stuff like levitation and bilocation and like being able to like share people's dream space and all kinds of like very, very wide range of purported abilities that people have attained. And various
I have personal
levels
knowledge of a
evidence.
person who has a hit on one of those you just mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, the shared
one?
dream thing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I think that biolocation and levitation are perceptual and are not a thing, actually. Even though someone could perceive that thing as real, or even a crowd of people could perceive that thing as real, I think it's perceptive. It's in the head. It's not in the physicality.
Okay.
But if you could if you said you had a dream, right?
Yeah.
And then you told it to me, and we recorded it, at least social recording, right?
Right.
And then we saw it play out. You can't fake that unless it were a predictable thing. But if it's an unpredictable thing, there's... Okay, so Beck is, I think, 16? 15? I don't know. Mid-teens. I can't remember. Next oldest sister Susan goes to college, has boyfriend, fiance person, different town.
Okay.
I don't know, 60 to 80 miles away. I can't really remember how far Fairmont is from Clarksburg, but anyway, some pretty good distance.
Okay.
There were no cell phones, when I was 17. No one, that was a military thing.
Right.
and it was the size of an
Sure.
attaché case. It was like a suitcase thing, right? It wasn't.
Right.
You didn't throw it in your belt. Okay, so awakes a little early, not horribly early, and says just had this terrible dream about Susan. And this is not a shared dream, come to think of it. It's just a verified dream that can't be explained other than abilities humans have that we don't actually know how to quantify. It's one of those. Says, I just had wakes up, tells mom, horrible dream about Susan. She sees Susan from the passenger side of Susan's actual car, right? Susan is not like cut or shot, but she's like spattered with blood. It's like the blood is like a blood spray hit her, okay? And she's crying and freaking out and driving kind of erratically. And it's like Beck was sitting in the passenger side looking at this, right? Okay. The person who was actually sitting in the passenger side is the one who got the baseball bat to the head by someone who car mugged them. What do they call that? Anyway, in traffic, caught him at a stoplight. Smashes her boyfriend. I don't know, cut him, hit him with a bat, whatever. But like Susan really did have that blood spray. We didn't find out for another 2 hours. Well, because take the boy to the hospital and busy and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh.
But what Beck recalled as true from the dream was true in reality at the same moment. So, peace and respect, Math Pig.
Yeah. Hey, Math Pig. And 420's got. I feel like some great things to say there. That's true. Like, you spend a lot of time exploring this stuff. But here's the thing, like, Wim Hof doesn't claim anything supernatural, and really neither does Richard. In fact, he disputed the things that even hinted at supernatural, like levitation or bilocation, which, I mean, the rest of the stuff is natural in terms of, like, natural functions. I mean, it's control over natural functions that isn't normal, Yeah, the Iceman's been studied extensively, supposedly, and I don't know. I mean, and he's not the only one. Like,
whoa, hold on. Now I'm reading. Sammy, you should just come into the show. There is some kind of like communication impasse here, and I didn't say dismiss all people who doubt stuff or something like that. What I said is if you dismiss things without investigation at all, you're not being skeptical. A skeptic is someone who doubts things and proves and disproves things. Like science is based on skepticism. So the scientific method follows skepticism. But no part of the scientific method is, let's not look at it. That's just not part of the method. It's not part of the idea. So I didn't say that you are cynical. I said some people are cynical. And I said it's a sign of being cynical when you don't look. Now, if you're one of those people who don't look and don't test things and don't try them, then okay, you're a cynic. I'm sorry for you. Because you're going to miss out on actual things. Because you don't look. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I think it's a good conversation.
I mean, I'm not saying that, Sammy, that you are or anyone else is cynical. I'm saying the signs of being cynical are the following things. And if you look up like the definitions of these words, I'm not exaggerating. Like that's really it. I'm not being prejudiced or something. It's just that's what the difference between cynical and skeptical are. Now, am I too trusting? Am I too accepting? Do I have too much faith? Am I non-skeptical? Probably about some things. And probably not about others. And I only say that to say that I'm probably biased because I am thoroughly convinced something is true. And on that thing, I'm biased. And that's all there is to it. And I would not even try to change that. Although, I'd like to think, I tell people that I think, that if someone came and shown me something conclusive, that I would accept that evidence and change my position, no matter what the position was about. I'd like to think that. Do I know that's true? I can't know that's true. Although I was an anti-theist when I became a theist one day in 20 minutes. So I guess I'm able to change to a position I don't like. Seems like I am. I'm so sorry about all that, Mac. You were trying to say something, and I just ran over you, and that's not really nice.
Oh, that's okay. I don't feel that way.
Okay.
I felt like we were vibing.
Okay.
No, I was kind of reaching, but I was gonna bring up another example I've heard of, somebody being studied, demonstrate. I think it was a Tibetan Buddhist monk who like demonstrated something that I think it had to do with actually brain waves. Like they were doing an EKG with the monk, and the monk could, shift, whatever between theta and beta and alpha waves, like at will.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So those are like consciousness states.
Yeah, I guess that's how it's experienced anyway. Yeah. But it's measured through these brainwave, like, gadgets. Anyway,
Yeah, you can see it happen on a computer. Yeah.
Yeah, and most people, that's not volitional. That's something that that they slip in and out of these states, but it's not. They don't make choices about them. They don't make deliberate choices about them. So it's kind of another fascinating thing that is like there just is sort of like it's brief and it's fringy, but there is kind of a scientific aspect to this. There is, these are studyable claims, so we can measure these claims. So
there's a guy.
A
He's like 6 foot or 6'1", 20 years ago. He said he was a mentalist and stuff, but they put him in a clear plexiglass cube, 3 foot by 3 foot, which he barely fit in.
Okay.
And he claimed he could breathe. He could slow down his breathing and his metabolism so far that he could breathe that amount of air for, it was something ridiculous. I don't remember how long. Hours. And he ought to smother to death.
Sure.
And the TV show that it was a big TV show. It wasn't a show about magic. It was a show about weird people.
Okay.
And so they weren't like automatically on his side, although they want to find weird people. That's
Sure.
kind of what the show was about.
I'd say they struck gold with him.
Yeah, so he was in that box, and they claim to have never broken, film footage, never taken the camera away. There was always people watching. There were no air lines going to the box. There was no air coming out of the box, which would be obvious during filming if there were bubbles. And if you put air into a space, it has to go somewhere.
Right.
Okay? So he was breathing. He didn't die.
Right.
And he was in the box, and it was underwater, and there were no bubbles.
Okay.
And there was no appearance of a line coming in or out of the box. Okay. So it looks like he slowed his breathing down. I have to tend to a thing. It will take very little time, I hope. I'm so sorry to everyone. Hold on, I'll be right back.
No problem. Well, welcome to the MacAHuman show. I agree. 420 atheists. What's the point? What's the point, really? So we can learn to do it. That's not a supernatural thing. Like, it's possible that we can do it. That's all that Richard's saying. He's saying that he can control that kind of stuff and even more kind of stuff about his body. I don't know. I'm not sold on it either, but I'm not like completely convinced it's not, possible. I guess I'm not even really that curious about it. I mean, it's possible enough that I don't really care if it gets demonstrated to me or not. It's just kind of a curiosity. Although there are instances where I'd like to be able to control my digestive system. That would be handy, especially on road trips and stuff.
Now, Mac, you would let me know if you get bad echo or anything, yes?
For sure.
Okay, thanks.
I got a little.
So I'm trying to let my friend Derek hear the conversation.
Oh, cool.
And I don't have two sets of these earbuds or whatever. So anyway. So I picked up the earbuds and they were vibrating, but I don't know what was being said. Will you bring me up to speed, please?
Sure. I was just saying. I was discussing or answering what 420 Atheist was saying in the chat about what's the point? Like, okay, let's say we can control these things, but who cares? I kind of get that too.
It's a reasonable question.
Yeah. There is a little bit of an echo, Richard. It's faint, but I can hear my voice like after I talk.
How about now? Is that any better?
Let's see. Yeah, actually, it's a lot better.
I put the microphone under the surface of because the computer's attached to the ceiling. It's actually 4 feet in the air. It's not on a desk. So I can put the microphone underneath of it. Okay. But when the cooling fan kicks on, tell me if that bugs you.
All right.
Okay, because that's underneath of it. Okay, so...
So what's the point? And I said, nothing. I don't know. I mean, I would like to control my digestive system sometimes, but, otherwise, I don't even, I'm not that invested enough in it to ask you to demonstrate some of the kind of more far out claims you made. I just don't, that's cool. I believe it. I'll just give you it, but, I don't have any use to control my heartbeat or maybe my breathing, but, I don't need to take control of all that stuff. I'm good with it on autopilot.
Well, I tell you what, it's been pretty convenient for me to not get sick.
I'll take that.
Because I didn't have to stop my life and feel bad. How's that for practical application? And I don't know, maybe some people like hiccups. Personally, I don't.
I don't remember the last
and
time
having been able to stop the hiccups all these years, pretty convenient, I've got to say.
Sure. Hiccups aren't like an affliction of mine, I guess. It's not something I struggle with.
Well, I don't know how many cases of hiccups I missed.
Exactly.
Because I only got one or two. But, probably once every couple to 3 weeks, to a month or something like that, I stop a case of the hiccups. If it was going to happen. You could say something like, Richard has this weird defect where he only hiccups once or twice. You could say that. That's fine. But my experience has been I had hiccups, when I was a kid. And it was a certain day where I had the hiccups that made me think about hiccups. And something my next eldest brother said. Derek, have you ever known me to hiccup?
No.
Have you ever known people to hiccup?
Yes.
Am I a people?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. All right.
Are you sure, Derek?
I'm pretty sure.
He's not a cabbage or something.
Yeah.
Math Pig says the echo's pretty bad.
Let me try hitting a setting. Hold on a
Is there
second.
anything I can do on my end?
I'm going to try using echo cancellation, see if that's any better.
Definitely.
You guys let me know what you think about that, Math Pig, in just a minute. Peace and respect to Jenna as well.
Hey, Jenna.
I don't know what to tell you, Sammy, other than I believe what I'm saying. Okay?
Right.
Now, you could say Richard's wrong. That's fine. But you're starting to sound defensive when I'm not attacking you. Okay? So if there was a comment way back in the chat today where you called yourself a skeptic, I was commenting before I read that on skepticism versus cynicism. I wasn't talking about you or whatever you might have written, which I don't know what you have written, all of it. because I've been a little busy. Okay. So if you feel personally attacked, you might ask why. Why might you feel personally? Because I'm not personally attacking actually anybody, but you might ask why you feel attacked. And it seems like you're doing this to me a lot recently. I don't know what's up. So, I mean, if a person is using a logical fallacy that they're aware of, they're a liar. That's all there is to it. Is that a high standard for what is a lie? Well, maybe, but I think if you're aware that you could do something like commit a straw man fallacy or a red herring or any of those, right? If you're aware of them and you know what they mean, and then you do it, you're being dishonest. Okay. So call me stupid. I'm okay with that. Call me wrong. I'm okay with that. Call me a liar. I'm not okay with that. So I'm not a liar. But so far, in not so many days, you call me a liar twice, Sammy. I don't know why. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. If I'm stupid, I'm aware I'm stupid in certain ways. That's fine. I don't know what to do about it, but I am stupid in certain ways. Okay? But please don't. To say someone lied is to prove their intent. That's awfully assertive. You start telling people what their intent is. That's assertive. Okay? Hard to justify. Well, you don't think I was talking about it. Okay, good, because I wasn't talking about you. But there are people who watch this show, because usually my shows, get more than 3 views. My shows normally get more than 3, which means a lot of people don't watch it live. Okay? And some people who don't like me in big ways watch these conversations, like Jill. Right. I know he watches them because he says he doesn't, and then he says things that says he does. And that does make him a liar. And I'll just say liar, but because he's negating his own statements. But I am perhaps more critical of people who claim theism than those who don't. Okay? And skeptics are not on one side of this argument. There's lots of people calling themselves skeptics, and they're not.
Right. That's what you were originally talking about.
Yeah. That is what we were talking about, yeah.
What true skepticism, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is an important distinction.
Do you find a problem with my definitions and examples of what skepticism and cynicism are?
No, those are fair, I think. Although I think if you want to go with the classical definition of cynicism, it's not necessarily a pejorative. It's could be considered. Oh, that's a direct hit. You got to deal with that. 428.
There you go, Sammy. There's the invitation.
Thought you were cool. Yeah, come in, buddy. There's
the invitation.
I respect you. I just want to get that out of the way. I've always thought you were chill. So
he has been chill with me until I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Did you see the link I put in the private chat, by the way?
Sammy and I have been friends for a couple good years now. The link you put in the private chat, did you want me to share it?
Yeah, I could just post it, I think. Let's see. It's
you have a wrench, don't you? Go ahead and post it. You don't have to. Yeah. I mean, I gave you a wrench because I trust you.
I appreciate that. It's
Give some respect, Sammy. Let me clear some of the stuff out of the way, Sammy, and then the floor is yours. Okay? Just give me just a minute, so I want to be paying attention to what you say. Okay? Hold on a sec. And floor's yours.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
no, I may have indirectly, or it may have been interpreted as me calling you a liar. I've never ever felt or thought that you were lying.
Oh, okay.
I feel that you're mistaken. That's as far as it goes. I've never ever thought you're being dishonest.
Okay.
And on the occasion when I did witness you be dishonest, I think that was even a mistake. I don't think you intentionally did it. The reason that I start to get a bit fired up about it all is all of that's perfectly acceptable and normal. But when it was tried to be pointed out to you that you did this mistake, you emphatically and almost aggressively were like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I went back and re-watched the show.
Yeah.
And we were spot on. You literally did a 180, and that's very unusual for you. And that's fine. It's not, no one cared. But it was when we tried to say, hey, Richard, you just did a 180. It was, no, I didn't. That's the part I take issue with, is that.
Because I didn't. Now, I'll tell you what did happen. What did happen is I was using loose language and using the word impossible in a colloquial, not a debate sense. And then when you guys said, you just said it in a debate sense, I said, oh, okay, wait, whoa. Like that, yes, it's possible. Was that what I was trying to say? No. I have always said I could be crazy. I have always said I could be wrong. I mean, you can find me saying that so many times. Okay.
But I can also find you saying,
hold on. I beg you, hold on.
Okay.
So if you looked at my overall statement, you wouldn't be able to think I meant impossible, literally impossible, like there could be no chance of it.
And that's where I disagree. Because I looked at the whole thing,
wrong.
and that is exactly what happened.
Yes, but you're
what
exactly
I'm trying
wrong.
to tell you
ask
is you're
so many people.
contradicting yourself on a daily basis. You're admitting you say I could be wrong, but you will also say I could not have made this up. This had to be given to me because I could not have prior knowledge of it.
Okay.
So those two statements contradict themselves. I cannot see how they can both be the case.
They don't. Hold on. They don't contradict themselves. Would you hear why?
I would love to hear why.
Okay. Do you go around thinking that you're telling the truth when you're not? Or do you say what you think is true?
Both. I do lie.
Okay. Well, all right, but not to yourself. When you lie, you're lying. You know you'd be lying, right?
Yes, you would like to think you would. Yes.
Okay. So, like I said, I know you've heard me say that I am fully persuaded, right? You've heard me say that?
Yeah.
Okay, that is, I'm convinced of a thing. All right. So when I speak of it as a fact because I am convinced of it. Does that make it a truth? Sorry, it does not. So you're conflating my confidence with the validity of the idea. When I say I'm sure I'm not wrong, and I'm sure I didn't make it up, and I'm sure it came to me via a dream sequence, and it cannot be I'm talking about my confidence in the claim.
Yeah. So, but see, right there in that one sentence, I guess then I'm being pedantic on you, and right there, that one sentence you just said was a complete contradiction.
No, it's not.
It is. You're talking about a confidence claim, then don't say can't, because that's not a confidence claim. That's a knowledge claim.
Right.
Don't say it can't be from my brain. That's the part we're trying to fight against. Stop saying it can't be. say my confidence level says
Oh, come
that
on. Who talks like
am
that?
convinced it can. You have to, because we're going to come back and go, you're full of shit, Richard.
Well,
You're
then say
saying
I'm
you
full of
can't,
crap.
and then in the next sentence saying you could.
It's
That's it. That's where the confusion
confidence
is coming in.
and
People are gonna
veracity,
call you
two
out.
different things. Confidence and veracity, two different things. I am completely confident. Okay? That is, I'm fully persuaded.
Yeah,
I think these things
it's
are
completely
true.
different than it can't be.
So you want me to state
That's a
things that
knowledge
I
point.
believe as facts, as maybes?
Yes, or
No, I
state,
won't.
this is a fact to me.
No, I won't.
But
It's just too clumsy. It's too damned weird, and you don't need me to.
then you are going to have, like you did the other day, 20 minutes. 20 minutes you argued with Robbie
I
on a
didn't argue
matter
with Robbie.
that you then, after 20 minutes, turned around and agreed with him. And it
No,
was all
I
because of
did
your
not
use of
change my
language.
position at all. Don't you get it? I did not
I
shift
get
the
it. We
goalposts.
get it. We
I
understand
didn't
what you're
lie.
saying
I
now,
didn't
right?
change my position. When
We're
you
trying
guys
to
made
say
it
to
clear,
you
you were taking it literally instead of how I intended it. I said, yes, that way it's possible I'm wrong.
and it's as simple as see that mistake that just happened in that 20-minute argument. Fine, you want to keep doing that, do that. But we're trying to say to you, Richard, by simply changing that simple language, you're not going to have these issues. You're not
Or
going to
you
have
guys
me
could both grow up.
in the chat going, Richard, you're contradicting yourself.
No,
Richard.
I did not at any point contradict myself. It's just you don't know the difference between veracity and confidence.
Yeah, I do actually. See, that's
Well,
an
then
insult.
why don't
Thanks
you
for
treat it that
insulting
way
me.
since you do understand it?
So you completely misunderstand what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
Is
maybe
that
I
what
do.
you're
Go ahead.
telling me?
What's that?
I don't understand why you're fighting against what I'm trying to say. You keep going back to we're misunderstanding your meaning and shit. It's not even about that, Richard. No matter what you're discussing, I'm simply trying to say friend to friend and human to human. I am witnessing you keep coming against this shit because of these things, and you could simply solve it by altering a simple little thing, but you're like, no, you just have to understand me. Okay, that's fine if that's how you want to go, but I don't see how that's productive or constructive.
Okay, let me show you why it's practical and applicable and understandable and constructive and all those things and more. Police officer pulls me over. He says, "You were speeding." I say, I was not speeding. Now, somebody's wrong there. Okay. What the driver means when he says that is, I think I wasn't speeding. I don't perceive myself as having been speeding. They may have been judging their speed against other traffic, and they were wrong. They were actually speeding. See, in this scenario, like you're the police officer and I'm the stupid driver. And when I mean it, when I say it, I'm not meaning it like you're taking it.
I guess
and I thought that would just be understood.
That. I completely get that.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm saying is, for me, these conversations, these deep type of conversations deserve a little more than the, oh shit, I wasn't speeding, officer, that you would shout at a cop who just pulled you up.
That's fair.
Of course you're going to say, fuck no, I wasn't speeding. You're not going to go, no, officer, I believe in my heart of hearts that there's no possible way that needle was over the accepted limit. Of course, you're not going to speak like that. But in these conversations, we need to go into as much detail and be chunky and clunky and awkward to make sure our points are getting across.
I'll tell you
because
what.
Like we've discovered before, the majority of people who followed you spent the first couple of years thinking you were a full-on theist who worshipped a god being. And it was a simple little language thing that you've since changed, and now people instantly understand your position.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm
People
arguing
follow
things
you?
that you're apparently not even saying.
Okay, so I think your overall presentation makes sense to me. Okay, and and I know there's a knowledge claim for you. I know you're right. Okay, and maybe I'm just about up to here,
Yeah,
and maybe I'm tired of it, and maybe I'm
yeah,
tired of having to be that careful always when I've already
I
made
get
my
it.
position clear for years overall. So,
I get it.
although I understand what you're saying, and you are right. Okay.
And I understand that it would, like, here's something that you would have considered, but let's just put it out there for everyone else to realize. You tell this story daily, and you are you. So you have been talking about this non-stop for years. You have told it a
Eric will vouch for
million
that.
times. But someone comes into a stream and they are back to square one. But I've noticed that your explanations get more and more obtuse as time goes on, and that is because you are so over explaining it. I do get that. And so it'll be like, he'll be explaining something to someone, and I'll feel like I just need to object and go, all he's saying is God's an alien. And they go, oh, right. And it's like, you're going into this big spiel to explain it when if you'd have just said, fuck, God's an alien. Yes, they're going to get the wrong idea, but it's still a clearer idea than they were getting, if that makes sense.
If you could just put your pinky right here on me and your ring finger right there, right?
Yep.
And then right above the temple with the middle finger, then behind the earlobe with the pointer, under the jaw with the thumb, and Vulcan mind meld and make me say it the way you need. That would be awesome, but I don't think I can.
No, I just want you to understand what's happening. That where these objections are coming from. It's not you're a liar.
But you're right. That's the problem. You're right.
Yeah, I just wanted you to see, like, and I know I'm not saying it's your fault, and I don't think you should have to change. I get it. You've been saying this for years. I wouldn't say it any different either. But
it does cause confusion, and you make a good point. And this is another thing I should work on, which I've never had a short list of things that I thought that I should work on in myself. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with adding one. I really am. And I will make attempt. I'm not saying I'll be good at it. I'm saying I'll make attempt.
No, of course not. Yeah, no, that's.
But you know, this causes the exact opposite problem in other situations with other conversations that I have with other people.
Yeah. It
probably what I really need to do is be more considerate of my direct audience. Those of whom of which, no, that's wrong. Those of which I am aware how they need things said, which is not always the case.
Yeah, exactly. And fuck, you're not always going to know who's listening or who's going to hear it at some point.
Right.
That's well said. That's definitely true.
Well, it's all right now. Learn my lesson well. You see,
my phone's ringing.
Everyone, you gotta please yourself. Oh, you left. Peace and respect. Thanks for coming by, Sammy. Sorry, I was singing over you as you said something probably that was like
he had a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he had to drop. Yeah.
Peace and respect, Odine. What you got, man?
And respect, gentlemen. You know, I've been accused multiple times, just in my daily life, of speaking down to people. Right?
Because you like English?
Basically, and I'm kind of tall, so. You know, and it's funny because I don't even view people that way, right? The level of arrogance that's required to do so is just insane to me.
Yeah.
right? And so, what I always tell people is like, listen, if you feel as if I'm talking down to you, let me uplift you. Let me bring you to the point where, to the level where you feel as if you're not at as yet, in order to grasp whatever I'm trying to convey to you. Right now, I'm taking on the responsibility to as a good Samaritan.
You
I
know what's
know,
funny?
Richard.
If you said if I required them of you, which I wouldn't, and you said those things to me, which you wouldn't, I would feel like you were then talking down to me. I really.
Right, right, right. So,
What?
and
I
that's
need lifted up? Is that what are you saying? I need lifted up to your level? Is that what you're?
you know
See, then I'd be insulted.
right, and so sometimes the feedback that I get is like, I don't know if I should feel insulted or grateful.
Right.
It's like, no, genuinely, man. I always want people to try to understand me,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't, it doesn't matter how I have to just try to find a way to just convey whatever I'm trying to convey to people, because I think we need to make that extra effort sometimes to communicate properly, right? Yes, I understand you know it's a burden, right? Most of us probably don't really want to take, but I think it's necessary. Because honestly, Richard, when I first met you on Discord, right, I didn't really understand a lot of the stuff you were talking about, right? It was, you know and I don't know if you recall, but I asked a lot of questions.
It seems you did. Yes.
Right, and I asked a lot of questions, and you know you essentially brought me up to your level of, in terms of how you were viewing things. Like, you took your time, and that I definitely appreciate, because it opens up my mind and my eyes to many different perspectives.
Yeah.
Right, the name Demolished Doctrine is it's it fits you,
Yeah.
because that's literally how you do it. You do it by opening up people's minds and perspectives, right? Different considerations. Not saying it'll be successful all the time,
No.
right?
Can
Obviously not, because
Yeah, Odine,
but
if you don't mind, Sammy never really got to finish his thought.
oh, sure, no, go ahead.
that's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
So I guess I just wanted to ask Richard, because I think this is the like sorry, what's Batman's name?
Odine.
Odin. I think this is sort of what you were saying as well. Um, so to give an example, do you feel that it is disrespectful or doing an injustice
Hmm.
if you were to give, or say if I were to give someone a synopsis
Mm-hmm.
of your understanding, such as follows: humans are in a series of a long line of humans. We've um, had other planets in the past that were called Earth. This is one of many Earths. Um, there is no deistic or theistic God as such. Angels are merely advanced humans. Heaven is a spaceship that will take us through space and on to the next Earth and so on and into the future. And I came to this conclusion through a series of waking dreams in which certain Bible stories, particularly David and Goliath, were represented in planets and stars in space. And I witnessed something take place amongst those planets. And I believe that that is our future and what is coming. I believe that the Bible is all prophetic. It hasn't happened yet. It's all talking about basically now and the future. And it was written for one person, a redeemer, a hero of Earth. I know it is so basic, and this I worry that you worry that it's not doing it justice, that it's leaving out too much, or it's going to raise more questions than answers. But honestly, if you'd ever said that to me, I would have understood basically 80% of your position, and just would have needed a few little clarifiers here and there. And that's why I feel when people who meet you, don't try and overexert yourself or stress about how it's going to. Just say that little 1 minute spurt. And as crazy as it sounds, people are going to go, okay, I understand. Now let's go at it.
So I had 3 thoughts. Well, not just one. While you were saying all that, because you originally asked me, would I be offended or whatever, right?
He dropped out.
Oh, he's back. Hold on a second. I'll start that sentence over. It's not that long.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Hit the damn wrong button.
That happens. Okay. So I'm going to repeat everything I said just to be sure. Okay. So I had 3 thoughts, and you originally asked me, would I be offended if? Okay. I would be offended if someone were lying on purpose. Okay. That's when I'm offended. As long as a person's being honest, and I think everything you just said is your honest impression, okay, of what I've been trying to say for some time with all you guys, right? So I think it was honest. So no, I wouldn't be offended even if you were wrong. By the way, you're wrong. It's not 1 spaceship, it's 29. That's just
damn it.
Just a little bit of playing, but it's not 1 spaceship, it's 29.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking, you know what, for all the difficulties and all the language barriers and all the mistakes I've made trying to express this thing, I am a little bit overwhelmed right now, and I'm feeling kind of misty, and I kind of feel a little bit, like it wouldn't take much to push me into crying right now, and I'll tell you why. Because I did my job. Because you understood it. Okay.
I've understood for over 12 months. And that's probably why I pushed harder on you
12
than
months
anybody.
ago, though. Sorry. I'm just
What
kidding.
was that?
That's
You
funny.
could have told me 12 months ago. No.
I'm sure
it's
I
great.
told you I understood. And I've actually tried to come into conversations and do that for your benefit, but then I've sort of pulled back and thought, oh no, it's going to sound dismissive, and just spurting it like that in a minute is dismissive. It has to be. Like, we're dismissing so much of.
Would it be less dismissive if I'd said it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot less.
Okay.
Because it's me just saying it so nonchalantly and like, it's just heavens, aliens and blah blah. It sounds dismissive, even though I'm not meaning that. But if you'd have said it, perfect.
Okay, so again, I know or think or believe that you're right. Okay, again, but I've already spent years thinking about everything that you're saying right now. Of course, but I do spend, like Derek will tell you, this is not a YouTube channel. You're looking at my life. Like everything I do, every day, everyone I meet, I'm looking for an opening to say heaven is physical. Like everything all the time. No joke. You guys just see a sample of the rest of my life. That's what you see on this channel. Okay. So for me, it is a devotion. It's an all the time thing. All right. And I think there's literally nothing more important that I could do. All right. So, see, getting closer. Now my heart's all fluttery and weird and stupid. Okay. Sometimes it helps if you just admit these things, you can get over it quicker. Okay. So I mean, I'm really moved by the fact that you were able to state it. If I said exactly those things the exact way you said it, it would not be dismissive in context of myself, because I'm not being dismissive of myself, right? It would
Exactly.
only sound dismissive of what I was saying. It would only
Yes,
sound like I don't
possibly.
take it seriously.
Yes, there is that
That's what I think.
possibility. Yes. Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but that's the way it comes across to me. And I hear people say things casually all the time. And sometimes I don't know if they're kidding or not. You know, if they really believe the thing they're saying. I'm not always sure.
It could be as simple. And what I found with the YouTube community is people, the one good thing I found is no matter where you are or what side you're on, in general, the audience are getting smarter. We're learning terms, we're learning phrases, concepts. I love it. It's brilliant. People are understanding things like a proviso. So they understand now, if you put this proviso at the start, anything they say has to have that applied to it.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that now. So I imagine if you started with, now what I'm about to say is going to be very quick and sound very dismissive and as though I don't take it seriously, but this is the most serious thing to me in my whole existence. If you said that, there's no doubt everything you say after that fact, they're going to think, fuck, he believes this.
I think you're right. I think I could preface it that way and then say exactly what you said, and it wouldn't sound dismissive of the idea.
Yeah.
As long as they don't dismiss the first statement.
Exactly. Which if they do, they're dishonest. You don't even want to talk to them anyway.
You know, I think it's horrible that I'm starting to feel that way about certain people in our YouTube community.
No, it is. It's sad.
Like,
But
there's a couple people that I think don't want to hear, don't want to consider, don't want to think about anything aside from what they already think is true. Right? And because that, I don't know, cannot. What philosopher was it? I want to say it was one of the students of Socrates. I want to say, anyway, he said it's a mark of intelligence or genius. I can't remember the exact quote, that you can entertain, hold, or even argue for an idea that you don't believe is true.
absolutely.
And I've seen you and MathPig do exactly that. So what's that say? Okay. So anyway.
To do what?
Hold and consider and critique, even defend an idea you don't believe is true.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And do you know what, Richard?
What?
You inadvertently, or me trying to understand what you believe, taught me that. I realized recently that I've learned to put myself into the person's worldview.
That's such an advantage for anyone
To
who can
do
do that.
an honest internal critique. And it's so hard. And I struggle every day with other atheists who refuse to do it.
Right.
And I can see they're arguing against the thing, not from their position. They are simply arguing against.
Right.
And it's like you've not even attempted to embrace that position, to understand it, to then critique it.
Right.
You're just
The
critiquing it
critique
from
would be
the
better
outside.
if you came from their own position.
Exactly.
It'd mean more.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I think because, you know, for want of a better word, it was such an out there belief, and I really had to work. I can now put myself inside anyone's position quite easily.
That's amazing.
And I
But,
have you to thank for that, Richard. So
I doubt that, but thank you. Peace and respect to Pixie Storms. Um,
Pixie.
Respect.
okay, guys, I mean none of you any disrespect, but I'm continuing to get more overwhelmed, and I don't know what to do to stop that, and I think I
It's
can't.
tricky.
So I'm gonna let myself off the show.
We love you, Richard. Just go
But
ahead and go.
I
with it.
just came to say
Don't be
thank
doing
you.
that right now. Okay, so before I go, I want to say peace and respect to you all, and I truly do look forward to the day that we're all great friends. I'm not ending the broadcast. You guys, it's yours. Okay.
Right on.
I might be able to come back later. All
All
right,
right.
but for now, peace to you all.
All right.
Love
Peace
you,
and
Richard.
respect.
Love you too.
Well, I
Bye,
just
bye,
came to
bye,
say
bye.
thank you and tell the whole panel that I appreciated you guys and jump back down to the audience. But Richard left.
Now we need
Okay,
somebody.
Pixie's in charge.
Yeah, we need to elect Pixie.
No.
The reluctant leader.
I'm
That's the
I'm
best
only in
kind.
charge in one place, and that's in the wheel.
Yes.
And even then, I people still get votes.
Benevolent dictatorship.
Yeah.
Well, I thought this
Benevolent
was a great stream. I mean, I love it when it gets raw like that, you know.
It has been. I appreciate all of you. It's been great listening.
Yeah,
I came in a little bit late.
there's a few channels on YouTube. This is one, and Wild Hearts is another that I
Just
I
authentic.
just love the community, and I love the openness and the honesty and the understanding. And yes, we get the odd one come in, you know.
Sure.
That I see them as ways to remind us that we're on the right track.
Right.
I agree, and they can stay in the YouTube community. They just can't come into the wheel. I'm
Right.
building my own
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
It's awesome in there.
Because we need to let these people into the YouTube streams. We need to let them espouse their, what I'm going to say is nonsense, so that the audience can get a perspective of both sides and then choose. That's, for me, that's the whole, this community anyway. I know YouTube's there for a lot of different reasons, mainly just entertainment, but for
Right.
me it's about knowledge and trying to gain knowledge and understand why people hold the positions they hold. And every time I learn something new, I get this little, I don't know if it's endorphins or if it's serotonin, but I used to describe it as it felt like my brain got a little bit bigger, but it's a high. I literally get a high when I learn a new fact. I don't know if that happens to everyone else, but
It does to me. I always said people used to tell me how smart I was, and I always said it's not that I'm smart, right? It's that, like, I have an undying curiosity complex.
Yes.
Is what it is.
yeah, you just want to know. You just want to know. And I think that's human. And I think people, we literally teach ourselves to switch that off. And society teaches us to switch it off.
That's true.
You know, we busy yourself, get up, go to work, come home, you're so buggered, watch a bit of telly, pass out on the lounge, get up and do it again tomorrow. Where in that process did you consider another human being or their ordeals that they're going through, or you didn't. You just thought about you and yours. And that's the life that the majority of us live. So this little YouTube escape could be so powerful.
I definitely agree with that, and kudos to you for essentially breaking down. Well, well, for one for having the bravery to essentially like turn that whole thing and into into a synopsis, and describing it, because it's a perfect description, right? And I use the word brave because I try not to do that for the same reasons.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people don't do it. You don't want to come off as being offensive, dismissive, or as if you're trying to minimize
Of
someone's
course.
position.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
me personally, I don't think someone um, and their beliefs are one and the same necessarily,
Mhm.
right? I think
It
even if
can be
they are,
informative.
yeah, and even if they are, your beliefs can change because you can change to a certain extent,
All
right?
right. That's
Exactly.
true.
So
Mhm.
whether you are or not, it's only a temporary thing, isn't it?
A belief state.
Possibly.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so.
Possibly, anyway.
yeah,
Um,
I think that I think that's definitely the case. Uh, in probably most situations, you know, um, but that's one of the things that I try not to do. I do it a little bit more, I guess, in real life when it comes to friends, mainly because
Hmm.
I just kind of realize that sometimes people are afraid of the truth of their reality, right? And when you express it to them directly, it can sometimes be offensive, or or even just straight up hurtful,
Hmm.
right? So what I try to do is that I try to ask questions, right, to lead that person to that truth that they don't
Right.
want to admit to themselves, to get it so they can say it out loud. It's one of the things that I learned in business management classes.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and I used to hate those classes, to be honest with you, but it did give me like really good tools, I guess, when it comes to um, just managing folks or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very different thing when you can say something out loud,
Mm.
right? Whether it's to a person or to the person, or for the person to say it for themselves,
Right. Right.
right? It's just deeper, because it's one thing if you've been spending how long trying to convey your thoughts, right, in a detailed way, so the world can gain an understanding of what you believe and who you are, right, and where you're going, and
Hmm.
the world that you would like to see, and then one day someone like doesn't just get it, but surmise it in a way to where you didn't really expect. And so I
Mm.
understand how Richard feels. It's
Right.
happened to me before,
Sure.
you know. So I that's that was a pretty I didn't catch the whole discussion. It was more so on the tail end.
Uh huh.
But it was very interesting, and you know
yeah. And
I'm
for a bit of context, um, I, I'm pretty sure I'm not over speaking to say this, but I'm one of the first people Richard was friends with on YouTube. Um, because I'm obviously really good friends with Math Pig, and that's
Hmm.
sort of where Richard got started. Um, so I've been there from the beginning, and we've had more, more hours of conversation. Oh, probably Max probably starting to catch up on me, but I've discussed it with him so much, and we're so close, and we we've always called each other brother, and like said, you're like my brother from another mother. We're almost family. So it was pretty involved emotionally, like, and I think that's why I know I was pretty riled up, and I think it was probably upsetting Richard because he was feeling like I was just attacking him.
He definitely, yeah, he was.
It could come off as that.
Or that I felt,
Yeah,
sorry, more to the point, that I felt that he was attacking me.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, yeah, I thought I can't keep talking in the chat. I need to come on. Because I
I'm glad you
also,
came on.
you'll notice, and I don't do this intentionally, it's just literally because there's no tone there, I realize that in text, my words are very blunt. They are when I speak, but I have a tone and a face, and so it doesn't sound that way. But when I read back, it's like, shit, I look like I don't mean to be so blunt. That makes sense. In text. That's why it's like, it's just better to get on here and
Yeah.
within 5 minutes it was like back to awkward silence. Where do we go? Because we just agreed on everything.
And it's funny. It's kind of like what, when I came in and what I said, right? Some people would just have, um, you know, they'll feel a particular way when I engage them, as if talking down to them. But in me trying to doing so, back in the past, right, trying to be like, okay, let's get you to where you need to be, right? I learned over time that even that within itself is, can come off offensive. Obviously, I'm not trying to be, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of decided to change my mindset on it, and try to take a different approach. And that,
Yeah.
trying to learn how that person engages so I can express it in a
You're
way that
right.
they can learn.
You just sort of put a thought into my head. It's kind of, it's a 50-50 thing because we can't control how they're going to take what we say. So
Hmm.
we have to control the part we can, which is the bit coming out of our mouth. And if it's 50-50, that means that there's a chance that we won't land what we're saying. They won't get it. So we need to actually go that little bit further and put that effort in to make sure that we are being a bit more understanding towards the person we're trying to tell the thing to, or don't bother trying to tell it, basically. I know that's very blunt, but that's almost what I was going to say to Richard, but then he understood what I was saying. I was going to say, I know it's hard work and I know you're tired and all the rest of it, but what is the point of doing it if no one's going to understand what you're saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And it,
Hey guys,
when
I
you
gotta
were,
bail.
when,
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I gotta bail. For now, I gotta go put the kids to sleep. So
oh,
thank you so
okay.
much for the stream. And
Later, Matt.
yeah,
Thanks,
later.
man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it really was awesome. So
Yeah, great
peace,
chat.
everybody.
Love you, dude. Bye. Go on, Odin.
Yeah.
If
When I was kind of listening to the chat, um, you know, first of all, I didn't feel as if you guys are really going at it. As men, you kind of know the whole thing, are iron sharpens iron type thing, and some people might find that to be a little bit, find those interactions to be a little bit, I don't know, brash or whatever, right? But the intensity kind of shows the seriousness of, in terms of the willingness to understand each other,
yeah,
right? And understanding each other, sometimes it doesn't manifest in a polite conversation, to be frank. And
yeah,
sometimes you just have to just kind of say what's on your mind and be very direct, and I absolutely love that you're being direct. And you know you wanted to say something, Pixie?
No,
um
no. When I said later, I meant like I don't care if it's next week kind of a thing. I didn't want to interrupt because I'm enjoying the conversation. My apologies.
oh, okay. But yeah, man, it was just one of those things where it's like you have to be more direct. Um, direct meaning you have to convey that the willingness to try to understand someone. But what I appreciate is the fact that you know we'll go out of our way to try to, right? And uh, I, I don't know, I feel like that just that idea alone is not appreciated enough, right? Regardless of whether or not we disagree on things or whatever, right? I absolutely think you know it's really awesome that we're willing to at least go on here and try to you know get to understand each other, because I think that you know in doing so, right, learning these different positions and why people hold these positions, I think that's one more step closer to forming the I call it the ultimate bond, to where humans will eventually get to the point where you know we'll understand each other enough to kind of accept each other for what we are.
Yeah. Um, yeah, exactly. And that that moment that we had where it was like we all came to that agreement. That's another one of those moments where I get a little rush, a little high. And because of that, that's part of the reason I've been able to drop my guard and try and understand someone's position, even if I drastically disagree with it. I honestly try to get into that position because I want to end up at that awkward silence where we all agree.
Yeah.
And that if that means I'm the one that's wrong and I have to change what I'm thinking, I'll do it. I have no issues. Like, you know, I I'm not strongly grounded in anything anymore. I'm willing to look at anything. I still call myself 420 atheist. I'm still an atheist. I haven't been convinced of shit yet. But I honestly look. I won't like. That's probably why I did get a little bit triggered, because I know he wasn't talking about me, but it was a response to my comment, and he was talking about cynic, and it was like, no, please don't ever do that to me, because I'm not a cynic. I take huge pride in the fact that I won't be biased with my atheism, and I want to be honest and say I don't hate God like most theists think atheists do.
Can't
I'm
hate something you don't
genuinely
even think exists. So
exactly. I'm genuinely not convinced there is one. I don't think there's anything outside of the natural
But
world.
I think there's bad examples on both sides, right? In the atheist realm and in the Christian realm. But
Absolutely.
bad examples is what those bad interactions is what sticks in the minds of the opposite side. And so
Yeah.
while I understand that it's easy for them to like recall those reactions and just be like, ah, the other, I still bristle every time because I'm like, do not
Yeah.
throw me in with that. Please
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And that's why if we can come to it, even if it's the most basic little tenant, if we can come to something where we all go, okay, yep, we agree, and it goes that awkward silence, everybody won. Everybody won.
hmm
Like, and the audience is left going, oh, okay, like the other side is reasonable. Isn't that what we want?
what's interesting, um and this might seem like a little bit off, but I promise it'll make sense. So as you guys probably know, I'm into Zen Buddhism, right? And I was in this room on Discord, and a gentleman made us a small post in the group chat where he said awakening feels lonely. He feels a strong sense of loneliness since awakening. And so, I asked him a question, and yes, he's, I guess in the Zen sense, this guy is awakened or awoken, right? And so, you know, everyone was kind of there, you know, kind of doubting his state of mind, and um, telling him he needs to meditate more, and this and that. So, I went into the voice chat, and I messaged him.
Can I just interlude for a little second there? I
Sure.
just want to say, isn't that? It's just amazing. I already know where you're going and how the chat's there telling me meditate more, this and that. But I instantly, from that sentence, understood what he meant because I put myself in his position. And he's saying, it's like being lonely at the top, but that's not what he means. Like I'm at the top. It's like, okay, now I
Mhm.
understand this shit. No one else understands it, so I'm kind of here by myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And I messaged him and asked him to join the chat with me. And I told him that I saw his message, and this guy was legitimately sad. He was crying. Because what he's seeing now, he wants other people to see it, right?
Yeah.
And there's no real way for him to convey it in such a way to where they'll be able to get to the point, right? They'll just have to do whatever go through whatever he has to go through in order to get to that point. So I said, listen, initially I understand that feeling, but and this is just Zen terms. I said, how can you feel lonely when after awakening you inherently know that you're one with everyone and everything? Instantly, his mind, his mind, his whole perspective just shifted, and he's like,
Yeah.
Satori, and he like jumped out of the chat, right? And it was so interesting because that's what I'm saying. These little experiences that you can have, right, or go through, right? Just someone understanding the place that you are at. It does so much. That's
And it's almost like you literally. So when you were describing him, I was going to jump in and go, and who did you literally just describe?
you know,
Richard.
Richard.
And then when you finished that off, I was like, even more so, you've just described the interaction that we just
Exactly. So that's why I was my mic was off, but I was laughing because I experienced something
Wow.
that's like basically the same thing, you know? Um oh man. And
That's cool.
I've
I
had those
appreciate both of you so much and thank you, but I've got to run.
all right,
Thanks,
Pixie.
Pixie. Love you.
Later days. Back at you, Sandy.
All right,
Bye.
take care. But yeah, man.
Fascinating.
Yeah, she's very nice. It's awesome.
Yeah. Do you know Jay? What's his YouTube name?
Does he have a
Nevermore.
Joker
Nevermore
icon?
Tavern.
Does he have a
No, not
Joker
that.
icon?
Not that Jay.
Okay.
This is a Buddhist. Nevermore Tavern.
No, I'm not familiar with him.
No, you probably wouldn't. Yeah, I'm just surprised you hadn't run into each other yet. He's a Buddhist. He's used to be an atheist. He's in our little atheist community, but he's gone and embraced Buddhism. He calls himself a secular Buddhist, which is odd because I thought Buddhism was kind of. Oh no, there is sort of supernatural tones like with energy. and stuff, isn't there? So,
Um, that
or
aspect of
no?
it exists, but that's not necessarily the goal of it.
Yeah. And as I'm willing to accept, that's not necessarily spiritual either. It's just at
Yeah.
this point in our understanding, it is because we don't understand.
So, Alan Watts, he's a philosopher. He's super into Eastern philosophy of all sorts, particularly Zen Buddhism. He said that Buddhism is, or Zen Buddhism specifically, it's like a form of spiritual, like, ophthalmology, where it opens up your eyes to different aspects and approach to a lot of things, right? So yes, the spiritual component exists, but it's more so focused on being a master of being, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's more so this thing that is supposed to um, uh, focus on your mind, and by changing your mind, so to speak, right, the world around you will change at the end of the day. So I'm being super crude right now, but that's the idea behind Buddhism, and specifically Zen Buddhism, is to clear away all the crust in your eyes that's preventing you from really seeing things for what they are.
Yeah. Right.
Because I'm not gonna lie, bro. When I when I awakened, it, like, I understood the concept of nothingness, and, like, I couldn't stop crying for a while because it because I'm all of these Zen koans that I'm reading, all these stories, all the stuff that I've, like, meditated on, all of it just made sense. My view on everything has changed. My behavior has changed for the, like, uh, uh, the way how I think has changed drastically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
And
what
mhm,
sort of a position did you come into that from, though? Were you atheist or Christian or?
Christian.
Okay. So
But the
you
cool
went from
thing is,
Christian to Buddhism, Zen
I mean, I'm
Buddhism.
still a Christian. The cool thing is with Zen is that it doesn't have any doctrines.
Okay.
It doesn't. There's no specific practice you got to do per se, but there are some practices that can help you get to, a point where you're awakened, right?
So
It just
you're
depends.
a Christian that practices Zen Buddhism. That is
Hmm.
cool. I'm sure a
Yeah,
lot of Christians don't think it's cool, but I
I
think it's
mean, you
cool.
can be a Satanist and practice Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism doesn't really have anything to say on morality and stuff like
Right.
that, or necessarily much on spirituality. And if it does speak on any form of like spiritual stuff, it's most likely to an attempt to get you to awaken. Like, the Zen koans are formed, they're kind of formed in the form of jokes. Some of them you'll find funny, some you'll find very distasteful and disturbing. A lot of it it's going to be complete garbage to you. It wouldn't make sense. And as the more you learn, the more you ponder, your opinions will change on certain stories and cones and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's a
So
very interesting ride.
I think I'm definitely gonna have to look into it. It's sort of the one thing, like when I was, well, I'm still on my journey, but looking at different religions in my past, and I sort of, delved into all the different denominations of Christianity and stuff, and I wanted to look at Eastern ones, and I went Hinduism first because I was like, oh, it's the oldest, blah blah blah, the Bhagavad Gita, all the rest of it. And of course, I just wound up thinking it was so ridiculous. I never bothered to even look at Buddhism because I just
Hmm.
assumed it was similar, and I thought they had all, you know, different gods and levels of existence and all this woo stuff. So I never looked at it. But from what you're explaining to me, that's not what it sounds like at all.
It it is not. And Hinduism and Buddhism are actually pretty close. Buddhism is less focused on the God aspect of it, right?
Yes,
But
that's
the
what
yeah,
that's
but
what turned me off the Hinduism.
yeah, but a lot of the practices were somewhat similar. Um, the goal of Buddhism, and I'm super generalizing here, is to get out of the cycle of reincarnation and become one with the source. And the only way you can get to that point is by becoming Buddha, becoming enlightened.
Yeah.
Once you become enlightened, then you get out of the life cycle. The life cycle is supposed to be like the bad thing that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
When you become one with the source, I guess it's eternal peace at that point. Um, you
And
know,
there's some, see, and it's almost like it's just getting back to the fundamentals of all the other religions. They, heaven and all that. It sounds like it's just a bit more base.
yeah, you could say that.
For want of a better word, because that kind of has a negative connotation to it, but it sounds like it's almost like just getting back to the roots of it all.
Yeah, I mean, Zen Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism it's kind of a mix between Buddhism and um, what do you call it again? Taoism, right?
Uh,
The Tao, right? That that philosophy it heavily influences Zen Buddhism. Before it was called Zen, it was called Chan. Um, and actually, believe it or not, a lot of warriors in the past were actually Zen Buddhists or Chan monks, right? Shaolin monks, particularly, right? Because the idea is for you to have a free flowing mind, and in martial arts, the only way to be I guess the perfect martial artist is to get to that state to where you'll be able to use you're always prepared by not being prepared, if that makes any sense.
yeah.
Like if
So you're just sort of in the zone all the time.
exactly, that's a very good analogy. You're literally
Yeah.
in the zone
Yeah.
all the time.
Do you see what I mean about saying? What happens when you let yourself understand what someone's saying and put yourself there? You get it.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean I believe it all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what people struggle with.
Yep.
Like, oh, if I understand that, I must believe it. No,
No.
you just want to be genuine and actually understand what the hell you're being told.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be frank, I didn't think Zen Buddhism would have been useful in any way or even like meaningful. I actually just got into it because the stories were just, I don't know, pretty funny and weird
Cool.
and interesting, right? And then I just kind of realized that, oh shit, there's like way more to this. And I just, kind of got pulled in. If anything, Zen Buddhism has allowed me to be a better Christian, at least, mentally speaking,
Yeah,
right?
and
Um,
and, and let's be honest, we are so much more accepted accepting of things we discover ourselves or discover naturally than things that someone tries to tell us.
That's
You know,
true.
and I think that's why people struggle to let go and actually listen and put themselves into what the person's saying, because we automatically put that defense. Oh, you're trying to tell me your way's better. No, they are convinced it is, and they want to. They need to say it because it's fucking burning in their bones. Like, if you can accept that, then you'll be much more willing to listen than if you just like think that they're trying to ram it down your neck, sort of thing.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the I think largely sometimes it comes back down, and just correct me if I'm wrong. It's a little bit late. I'm somewhat gaming as we're talking. I always game and do stuff while I'm in these streams. Um,
So
but you know, is it sometimes I feel like there's like a lack of is it empathy, or there's another word? Why is it slipping my tongue? When you like
yeah,
understand someone.
I think empathy is the right word. Good, because I don't think we do have a better word to describe what you're trying to describe. I've been saying understanding, but that's even like less what I'm trying to say than empathy. Empathy is better than understanding, but it's like it's more than empathy and
Yep.
understanding. But no, we are lacking it. And that I think that's what I was trying to get at with we we already have our wall up. No one wants
Mhm.
to hear it. We just want to push our position. It was like, I don't want a position. I just want to, because I don't know. So
Yeah. You know,
I
and
just
it's funny. It,
yeah.
it's interesting because I well, Zen Buddhism, Christianity, and Stoicism, right? I definitely practice Stoicism. I
So
think
expound a little bit on that for me, because I
Stoicism.
think I know what Stoicism is, but I'm not sure.
Um, so the idea of Stoicism is to have emotional control of your state of mind.
Oh, of course, Stoic. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Um, it's a super simple explanation, but that's essentially what it
Yeah,
is. Um, you know, and when people engage me and they'll see me go through certain experiences, and you know, um, they'll see the way how I react, right? Or I'll engage people for the most part. And it's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you like have all this control? How are you like always so poised? How you work under pressure so much, and this and that, and what do you do? So I'll be like, well, stoicism helps a lot, right? And you know, I'll just answer the question. Then they're like, okay, like how can I get into that? Right. And I was like, well, I'm not even sure if it's even for you. Like, you know, and I'll ask certain questions like, do you have like severe anxiety issues and abandonment issues and stuff like that, right? Because in order to become a proper stoic, there's a particular mental process you have to go through that could trigger your anxiety. And just to kind of crudely break it down, is to imagine the worst case scenario for each scenario of your life, and accepting that
yeah,
that is a
wow.
possibility and it can happen. And it doesn't, and when I say accepting, you have to visualize it,
Yeah, yeah, and
right?
actually try and experience it.
Exactly. So when it happens, or when something else happened, that's close to it, you can experience it and you can express your emotions or whatever, right? But you've accepted it, And, even if it's going to result in death, you're going to die in peace. You're going to move on in
So,
peace. You're going, huh?
so here's an interesting little thing. Now that
Hmm.
you've told me what that is, so without having any idea that that was a thing, I I've actually done that to myself, thinking that if I could be okay with the worst possible thing that I can imagine, that when anything happens, I'm going to be okay with it, and that sounds like what you've just described as stoicism. So
Hmm.
I literally went through a process of mentally trying to think of horrible, not necessarily like gory or anything, like literally as in emotionally and existentially powerful things like loss of a child and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I've imagined scenarios where I've been in a boat with two of my children, and I can only save one. And not just try and be there in the moment, try and actually go through the thing of saving one, and then
Yep.
thinking about that, trying to experience the life then without the lost child and with the child that you kept, and the guilt, and that whole process. And it is truly horrific.
It is.
So I understand why it, yeah, could be very dangerous. It's um but yeah, I did that years ago, and I found now, with my job, I have to face very intense situations all the time, and also in a personal level, my son has a condition where I've nearly lost him a few times now, and had
Yeah.
him turning blue in my arms, and had to resuscitate and all that sort of stuff. And I can tell you that I was in complete control of my emotions through all of those. Um, and I would try and tell people about it at first afterwards, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're in shock and this and that." And I was like, "No, like, you don't understand. I know shock. I've been in shock. I was literally in control and calm. And I knew what the fuck was happening, and I knew how serious it was.
Hmm.
But it me being irrational and emotional was going to make no fucking difference, except for a negative difference. So why have it? I'll have that afterwards, thank you, when I have time to sit down and think about it and process it. Um, and so I'd have to say, without even knowing it was a thing, I'm a huge advocate for Stoicism. I
Yeah,
think
you
it,
are. You practically got it tattooed on your forehead, really.
yeah, I think if people have the mental capacity to deal with it, it's something to think
It's
about.
what's interesting about Stoicism, and this part of it typically gets ignored, is that it's what you describe. It's what it's there to prepare you for, right? But unfortunately, what what a lot of Stoics tend to fall under is that they become, how should I put this? It's they become somewhat unavailable, like emotionally. Like it's like they go so far down the rabbit hole where they don't even see the benefits of or the uses of those emotional states. But what they don't understand, or what they kind of miss sometimes, is that um, those emotions that you experience, right? And Stoicism is only just telling you how to use tools that you already have. If you have a nice thick log, right, and you're using it to beat a nail, right? Well, you can carve it out into something in a particular shape that'll allow you more comfortably hammer that nail. You see what I'm saying? It's essentially what Stoicism and a lot of these particular philosophies do. They're just taking mental tools that you already possess and sharpening them, right? And making you conscious of them, right? So those things, what you described is those are Stoic patterns, right? Those things are innate to you and everyone. It's just that if you're, most just aren't conscious of it. So if you aren't conscious of something, you can't really take advantage of it to its full capacity for the most part. Obviously, you're able to take advantage of it, um, but most people can't. Hence, why you have, I guess, the philosophy or way of life when it comes to Stoicism and just being a Stoic. Um, but yes, you Stoicism doesn't say you should rid yourself of your emotions. A matter of fact, if you are sad, you should cry. Um, if you're upset, you can express being upset in a productive way, right? Productive meaning, you know, you're not self-injuring or injuring anyone, right? You are expressing it in a way that conveys your state of mind, right? But you shouldn't dwell in
Yeah,
it. That's the goal.
yeah, 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 exactly. Well, um, like it, it by no means stopped me from having emotions or anything. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I
Like,
definitely don't get that impression.
yeah. And I think a lot of people think that that's what would.
What did you say? You were breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I said I think that's what a lot of people think would happen.
Yes. And I don't necessarily blame them for having that thought due to, I guess, a lack of understanding. And 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 of course the Stoics who actually kind of go down, like they they just go deep into it, ignoring all the other aspects of it and just seeking ultimate control, right? Um,
Yep.
People experience those particular folks, and they'll form their opinions, kind of like, listen, if you engage a terrible shitty Christian, right? Listen, that's going to be, if that's all your experience of Christians is going to be, then I can't blame you for thinking that's just who Christians are, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're right? But I can't blame you for having your experiences and living your life based on your experience because that's what you're programmed to do.
Yeah. That's right.
you
Um,
know?
we just need to learn how to get over those biases and recognize them as well. Well, that's the first part.
Oh yeah.
Recognize that you're even doing it. And I think
Yeah.
most, unfortunately, won't even get to that stage.
And it's funny too because self-consciousness can be a massive it's useful to be self-conscious, but it can be a massive burden, man. When
Yeah, absolutely.
man that's actually one of the major issues um that a lot of young people in our society is having now. And it's funny because people give Jordan Peterson a lot of shit, but if you listen to a lot of his lectures, um, oh man, there's some jewels in there, and when you when you're overly self-conscious, you can be overly critical of yourself. When you're overly critical of yourself, you're not going to give yourself a break. And so you're always going to be in a state where it's like you're competing with yourself. You're constantly stressed, constantly depressed, right? And if no one's going to awaken you to the fact that, hey, listen, life is suffering, right? Which, you're going to obviously believe that you're meant to be happy. Well, when in reality, you're really not. If you are
Yeah.
happy, you're lucky, right?
Um,
So-
even like something that I think a lot of us, I only sort of had this. I think we know it, but we don't actually consciously acknowledge it. And someone said it recently, and I just had one of those epiphany moments where um, they were like, no matter what view you look at, even like if you're naturalist or materialist or whatever you, I won't use the term evolutionist. That is just ridiculous. But even if you think, it's a material world and we evolve and whatever, um, humans have always, for as far back as we can find records and get any acknowledgement of how they actually existed, had fucking miserable lives. Life
Mhm.
was horrid. Even at the top, the king lived in what we would consider squalor and, just
yep,
horror. So it's only been the onset of the Industrial Revolution, and now we've got medicine and hygiene and stuff, that things are starting to get better for us as a species. But like when life has always been suffering, it's always been bad, and all you could ever do is just try and find the good little moments that are there.
hmm
Um, why try and think that it's going to be any different now because we have fucking rocket ships
exactly.
and paper money? Like, life is
It's
still hard.
yeah, it is, and it, this is the saddest thing, man. And it's typically young men that go through stuff like this, where where when you're born into society, your value isn't inherent. Your value is based on the amount of work that you put in, or the family that you're born in, right? And the position, right? And but for the most of us plebs, right? We have to create that value. And
Yeah,
so when you're conscious of that small thing, right? Even if it's slightly, and you're conscious of where you are on the totem pole of society, right? And then you look at your desires, and then you realize that, oh, I'm never going to achieve this, or I'm never going to be able to do that, right? You're going to tell yourself based on the evidence that's in front of you, right? You're not going to look into your potential. You're not going to look into the opportunities that might be available to you and all of that stuff because you're blinded by self-consciousness and the entitlement that you should have these things that you see that you can't have. And so what happened is that malevolence takes over and young men do stupid destructive things. They destroy others around them and they destroy themselves.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
They get suscept they become so easily convinced to do malevolent shit and evil shit because they feel as if they're not their worth is almost non-existent. And so guess what? They're like, fuck it. I don't want to be here, so fuck the world. I'm gonna take as much people as possible with me.
Well, and even on a more um, what do you, instinctual like instinctual level or more base level? Do you recall or know of the experiment where people thought that they were electrocuting someone on the other side of a or in another room, and they were basically, long story short, told to dial it up and dial it up depending on the person's response.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people went as far as to what they thought was killing the person?
Yeah, man. Oof. Yeah.
Like that's one of the most disturbing things I've ever heard, eh? That
You know,
that's something that still can reach me deep down in my cockles of my soul.
listen,
That,
man.
that we can be that dark as a
it's interesting because you know I'm happy that us humans do not have perfect memories. We're specifically built and tuned to not have perfect memories. Because if we did, we would all pretty much be like depressed and all sorts of fucked up. Imagine experiencing a trauma, something traumatic as a child, and you literally remember it to the point where it's almost like playing like a video in your head. You like it'll be so hard for you to get over that.
you couldn't function.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Right.
You couldn't. And you know, it ignorance being bliss, right? Under certain, not knowing and not, I wouldn't say, not remembering is a benefit because it allows you to move on, right? Um, but I think some level of guidance um, is needed because like you're an adult man, you know yourself, right? And you understand your situation and your life, right? And so you're able to make a conscious decision in terms of how you're going to address certain aspects or certain things that you might experience, right? Imagine a young man experiencing all sorts of horrors growing up. Like I've seen evil in so many ways growing up. I've suffered in so many ways growing up, and it's you know there were points where it's like I learned the hard way that life is suffering. The
Yeah.
only issue was that growing up without any guidance in that regard, right? That being regard, right? It was extremely hard to make use of that particular piece of knowledge. Now I can. I'm I'm not even gonna lie, man. Listen, my life ain't perfect. I am not rich. I don't make like a crazy amount of money, right? Um, you know, but I'm actually a pretty happy guy, right? Yeah, sure. A lot of it's to, yeah, and there are things that exist in my life that could probably piss me off or whatever, right? But most of those things are things I have no control over, right? And so it's a conscious decision on my part to just not worry about those things. And so I have a certain level of happiness, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and however, right, if someone were to come to me and be like, "Hey, um, you know, how do I become a Zen Buddhist?" Right? What's the first thing I got to learn? Well, life is suffering. You tell the you tell someone that there's two reactions you're typically gonna get. One, they're gonna be like, okay, I'm not even gonna engage you anymore. That's bullshit, right? Two, that person's going to agree with you in quotes, right? But they're really not agreeing because they don't really fully comprehend about what you're saying. And the point is to not even let them, the point is not necessarily for them to comprehend right away, right? But putting that out there, right? The goal of doing that is to see if this person is curious enough to explore that one thing. If they're curious enough to explore that one thing, then shit, there's a really
See,
good chance.
and that makes me realize that we shouldn't be protecting our children, and we shouldn't be sorry. I should have finished that sentence before I started a new one. We shouldn't be protecting our children from the fact that life is shit and can be hard, and so we have to work hard at it and just deal with shit as it happens. We try and protect them from that, and it's like, oh, they're too little to understand that yet, or that we tell them our own bias or our own beliefs, that our own crutches that we use, rather than like with my son who's 5, but he's a bit delayed, so he's behind everyone else on certain developmental stages. Like, he's only just understanding about that he doesn't have a granddad. Most kids realize that at sort of 3 and 4. And he's like, "Do you have a daddy?" And I said, "No, I said I had a daddy, but my daddy was sick and died." And because he knows that fish die, like I never, made stories about that. When the
Mm,
fish died, and we put it in the toilet and flushed it, and it was just gone. Never said where did it go. That, like, if that question comes up, I'll answer when it comes up. But it's dead. He okay, it's dead and gone. So when I said granddad's dead and gone, okay, he's gone. And I said, but you did meet him, and I have a photo. You were a little baby. And
mhm.
whenever he thinks about that or it comes up, all he cares about is like, I got a photo with granddad. Whereas if I tried to protect him about death, or say he's gone somewhere else, or
Mhm.
like that I've just delayed him like being able to deal with shit. I've took
Yeah,
away an opportunity to learn how to deal with shit, and I've stunted him. So
I hundred
I'm
percent agree
glad
with you.
that I knew the way I was doing it was right, and I felt it was right, and that I need to be honest and just tell him, but I didn't know why. And now I've been able to articulate it. So that's awesome.
Man, you know what? None of my grandparents are alive. They've all passed away. My
Yeah.
dad isn't alive. He's passed away. And right now I don't have any kids. Um, and I hope to have kids, but it's like, how am I, I always ask myself, how am I going to, answer those questions? Where's granddad? Where's, my great grandparents, and, stuff like that. And I have to explain that, that's always been something that bothered me to my
Yeah.
core. Right. And there's a lot of shit that bothers me, but that's something that really like
Yeah.
bothers me because, to be frank, man, once you experience death, that's where your innocence is gone.
Yes. Yeah. But you know what? And I see it, dude. Like, I see that. Now, here's the thing. consider this with me, and this is me like realizing this as I'm saying it. So I see in my son's eyes, he knows there's something more.
Hmm.
Not as in another life. He knows there's more to the story. He knows that there's a question he needs to ask. He's not ready to ask it, obviously. That's what I'm realizing. Like at a subconscious level, his brain is saying, you're not ready to ask that question. He's not asking it. But I can see in his face, he's sad. He wants a granddad. Like, he doesn't know that he does yet, but if that makes any sense. But I can see it. And my suggestion, I don't know that this is the right answer, but if you want to go down the honest route, you don't have to be brutal. What you say, right? And this will arm your child for the rest of their goddamn life, man. You say to them, that's an excellent question. And every human that's ever existed has asked that question. And you know, darling, there's no answer. Some people believe in a heaven. We go here and do this. Some people think we just go back to the ground, you know, how we see plants turn back into dirt, and we just become part of the world. And then a tree grows and someone eats the tree and we become part of that person. And so in that way, we sort of go on forever. Some people think this. It's up to you what you end up believing, darling, and blah, blah, blah. And they might pick
Hmm.
one on the spot. They usually will. And you go, that's cool. And they run off and happy and play. But you've just armed them. You've said some people think this and this and this. As in, as a species, this is the best we've got to offer. Take what you want from it. I'm not going to
Hmm.
force mine on you. They will, because you've given them multiple options, they will always be happy.
Yeah.
Um, and and you've just you've given them that tool of there's multiple answers to a question.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a really good approach. I always said that, I'm not gonna sway my kids in either direction towards anything. If they ask questions, I'll answer to the best of my ability. But it really, it's not my right to tell them, you know, what they should and shouldn't believe, right? Whatever tools I'm supposed to give them as a parent should be tools to navigate the world.
yeah, teach them how to think, not what to think.
Yep.
And
That,
I think every parent has that intention that I'm not going to sway my child, but does it unknowingly anyway, because the child's going to witness certain actions and behaviors and biases that they are going to take on as natural because that's what they've witnessed.
hmm
um, so I beat myself up every day for all the things I've ruined in my children, but at least I try and acknowledge them and help them fix it and grow. And you'll
Yeah.
also find that you do it's a horrid fact of life that you will do better with each child. So you're gonna
Yeah.
ruin your first child. I'm sorry, that's everyone does.
Yeah. 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 I've been told that quite a few
Because the
times.
poor thing is a full experiment.
Yep. They say that you'll never ever be prepared.
No, no.
Yeah, man. And you know what? The way how I look at it is, you know, that's a part of the journey, right? not, not being prepared, and not, not just knowing ahead. Um, you know, it's a part of the experience, and you know, it it allows for growth.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I wonder if Richard can actually hear us, or if
Uh,
he's gone
I
gone.
don't know.
Because I'm wondering, I'm probably going to have to shoot shortly, and I don't know. Do we just like we can't do anything, but do we just
Um,
obviously leave and leave
I
it
think,
running?
yeah, I think the stream it will end itself after
Oh,
a
it
while.
ends if we all leave, does it?
I don't know. That's a gross assumption on my part. I think it'll
Okay.
just end after a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how long though.
True. Well, I know that the limit for live streaming is 12 hours, but that does mean
Oof.
it's sit there for another 10 hours or so.
Yeah, I think YouTube will probably time out or something, or
Yeah.
Richard might has a limit.
Um, and true. The other thing is it won't upload if it's over 12 hours. So,
Oh yeah, there's that
oh,
part
so
of
it
it.
doesn't cut off. Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, it doesn't cut off. YouTube just won't upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the longest video you can have on YouTube is 12 hours.
All right,
But
man.
you can stream as
Again,
long as you want. So,
it's always a pleasure. You know,
absolutely. Are you in? Oh, he put it in the chat. If you're still up, jump over into
I think it's Wild
Wild
Hearts thing.
Chat. Yeah. Um, they're all hanging out in there, and I can still be around, but I've just got to wash dishes and shit. So I've got to keep like muting and then dry my hands to unmute, and it's just fucking not working.
Okay.
So that's why I was just saying I have to go. But this has been an absolute. I don't want to because I'm loving this conversation. Yeah, if you want to keep going, jump over
Okay.
into Wild Hearts. It might be a bit easier for me there. I can just say I'm muted.
Okay. Nah. I actually went over there. He says he's in another hangout, so he's gonna send me the link in the hangout link that he just sent me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Is- Oh, there. Okay, so click your link.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you over there.
All right. And that's the end of the show, guys. Peace and respect to you all. And if you watched it this long past when everybody left, I don't know why, but peace on you.